Okay, start ticks. Before we can start, I just want you to be open your point solution, and I want to see if you are with me about which one is tick here. Okay, so is this larvae or is this adult or nymph? How many says adult? And how many says larvae? Okay, yes. So remember, so nymph and adults has 4 pair of legs, either in mites or in ticks. Great. Okay, so let's start with the taxonomy, just for your information. You don't need to be remembered that one. Arachnida class. Let me open this. And subclass is Acri. Exida tick is the order. We will be work on 2 families for in today's and tomorrow's lecture. Araxidae is a soft ticks and Exididae is the hard tick. So this is again for your information. Hard ticks, Exides, these are the number of different species along with the genus. We will be work on those species or genus who has most important in United States. We will not cover those who are any other part of the world, like in Africa or in Asia. Same like in the soft ticks, Argicides, will be work on the most important one. Okay, so learning outcome. You will be identify these ectoparasites as being a tick. Awareness of the important hard and soft ticks that can infect the companion animals as well as large animals and their global importance. You will be work on the basic life cycle, biology or pathogenesis of these ticks, and also you will get the awareness of the ticks that can cause a disease or also act as a vector of a number of different pathogens. We will be talk about that one today's and tomorrow's lecture. Okay, so general characteristics of ticks. There's 2 type of ticks: hard tick, soft tick. Hard and soft ticks has a number of different segments, like a mouth part. Mouth part has further divided into number of few segments like pulp, hypostoma, silicida. Then the next part is capitula, is somewhere here, and the scutum is this one, and abdomen, and finally festoons. Festoons is like a ring shape structure. So the eyes are present in a number of different species, but it's variable in some species have eyes present, some don't have eyes. However, you will not see the head part or mouth part in the soft tick from the dorsal view. So here is the dorsal view, but you can see clearly the mouth part, but in the soft tick you will not see the mouth part. You can see it from the ventral sides. So for the mouth part, there is 3 segments. Hypostoma, that is right into the middle here. Silicida, there's 2 silicidas and 2 pulp. So this is all mouth part. So the mouth part of the adult soft ticks are not visible from the dorsal view. So here is the 3D structure of the mouth part. So where you can see the pulp, there's 2 pulps and 2 silicidas, and the right into the middle is single hypostoma. So, Heartix has a scutum. This is the next part from mouth. The scutum that is normally here. This is the scutum, and there is a two type of scutum. Inordinates, you will not see any white pigment at all in the scutum. If they are ornate pattern, you will see the white pigments in the scutum from the dorsal side. However, soft ticks, they have a lack of scutum. You will not see the scutum in the soft tick. So, both hard and soft ticks have different shape of fistule. The fistules is normally seen in the posterior margin of the tick here. What fistules will be look like? This is a hang of a decoration piece of a ring or strips between two fixed points. So you will be see here is a ring like structure and that is called fistule. Semi rectangular area that is present into the posterior end of the tick. So, as I said before, larval stage of the tick has a 3 pair of legs. Nymph and adults have a 4 pair of legs. However, soft ticks, they mate and the female lay 200 to 300 or 500 eggs in each feeding. On the other hand, in the case of hard ticks, once they mate, the female produce thousands of eggs in a one feed and then die. So that's the difference between soft and hard tick. So being so the transmission of these ticks. So these ticks are responsible for the transmission of the pathogens. The number of different pathogens they can transmit, and we'll talk about in the next half of our lecture. So there is a different type of transmission from these ticks. Mechanical transmission. Pathogen is transferred between host by tick, yes, but no development of the pathogen can occur within the tick. So here is the example. So this tick pick up the pathogen from their mouth and from the prick of the host, blood along with the pathogen, and then transmit into the other host. So there is no any biological or any reproduction has been happen within the tick. However, there is some other type of ticks, those act as a biological vector. So they transmit the pathogens from one host to the other host. However, these pathogens developed within the tick and move from their gut to the mouth part, and then transmission occur. What happened? So tick bite the host, along with the blood, they pick up the pathogens, they come into the mouth and go into the gut, where this normally the sexual reproduction of that particular pathogen, especially the protozoans one, has been happen, and then the sporozoites normally come back into the mouth, and they can transmit into the other host. So that is called biological transmission of the tick. So remember, there's a two type of transmission these ticks can take place. One is mechanical and the other is biological. So who's going to tell me the life cycle of tick? If it is different from mites or is the same? Who think that they are same life cycle? Mites and tick. Two of you. Who says they are different life cycle? So it means that they are same life cycle, similar life cycle, right? Okay, so yes. So what happened? Adult They lay egg. Egg is converted into larval, 3 pair of legs, nymph, and then adult emerge. So this is the life cycle of tick. However, in the case of tick, they will not always be complete their life cycle in a single host, except one. We'll talk about that one later on. In the case of mites, the life cycle will complete mostly on the host, and then they can transmit these from a close contact between the animals. In this case, they will not complete the life cycle all the time from one single host. They can switch their host during their life stages. And the life cycle is very important, and because it provides information that used to improve the disease control strategies. Female lay up to 4,000 or more than 4,000 eggs. Unfed larvae can be survive up till 253 days or more. Unfeeded nymphs can be survive 180 days approximately, and unfeeded adults survive 560 days approximately. Okay, so as I said, the life cycle will not be complete in a single host except one. So here is the ecological niche of the tick. What happened? Few ticks are a one host tick. What happened? In that case, one host, single host, larvae feed and they convert it into nymph. Nymph further feed the same host and then molt into the adult. Adult, they can feed from the same host, mate, produce the eggs, lay the eggs, drop off from the host, and die. So it means that they complete their life stage in a one single host. But that is the only example is Biophilus tick, and we can talk about the Biophilus tick more detail in the next half of our lecture. So some has two host tick. What happened in this case? Host 1, larvae feed, that further molt into nymph. Nymph feed and drop off the host, and they can molt into the adult once they drop off from the host in the environment. And then from there, the adult go into the second host and feed there, mate, produce egg or lay egg, drop off the host, and die. So in this case, is a two host life cycle. So half life cycle in host 1 and the other in the host 2. Hyloma and Drephocephalus, these two are the example of two host tick parasites. So some ticks have a 3 host life cycle, and they have seen in most of the tick families. What happened in this case? In host 1, larvae feed and drop off from the host. It means in this case, larvae drop off from the host and converted or molted into the nymph in the ground. And then they find the other host, nymph. They go into that host, feed, and drop off from the host and molt into the adult in the ground. And then the adult find the third host, and the adult feed, mate, drop off the host, lay egg, and die. So it means that in this case, the life cycle will be complete in 3 different hosts. These are the example of the ticks: Exidae, Dermacenter, Hymenolopus, Ambioma. However, some of the species of Hyloma and Drephocephalus, they also has a 3 host life cycle. Some has a 2 host life cycle, some species. some has a 3-host life cycle. But it means that most of these ticks has a 3-host life cycle. Okay, so anyone has any confusion here before we can move on? You understand the concept of these ecological niche: 1 host, 2 host, 3-host life cycle. Is this clear? Yes? Okay. So some of the ticks have a 5-host life cycle, and the only example is the soft ticks, Argosides. Hard ticks, they have maximum 3-host life cycle. In Argosides or soft ticks, they have usually 5-host ticks, and each stage will be molt or complete in a one single host. It means that soft tick, they need 5 hosts to complete their life cycle. So here I made this table for you to make things much easier. For the understanding of the ecological niche of these ticks, and Biophilus is the only genus where you can see a 1-host tick. Other than that, the other one has a 3-host ticks. Hyaloma and Drephocephalus are either 2 or 3-host tick, and Argus has a 5-host tick because they are soft tick, and the rest of them are the hard ticks. So I can't expect you to remember the species in this case. At least you should know that Biophilus is the only one has a 1-host tick, right? So, but you don't need to know which species of Biophilus has 1-host tick, right? Okay, so diagnosis. How we can diagnose these ticks? How we can remove these ticks for the microscopic examination? First, you can apply 70% ethanol to move the tick out, because they are very, very hard. So sometimes they are with the mouth part, they stick into the skin. So it's difficult to be removed. Sometimes I have seen that the veterinarians, they try to remove with the hands, and they because they are full of blood and is burst. So use some these type of scalpel type things, and put it like this way and remove it from the mouth part instead of putting your hands and from the back, from the posterior part to break the skin. So also you can use the frontline spray or these insecticide spray that will make these ticks to be softer, and they because due to the drug they can not very much stick into the skin, and you can easily remove after using this spray. In some of the country, when I visited there, especially in African country, I have seen that there is a number of the farmers have different ways to remove the tick. So they use the match like to be fire. So burn the fire and put the fire in near the tick, and the ticks just try to be come out from the skin and go into the floor. However, that is not a good practice at all, because if that tick has some pathogen in their body, you are spreading that one. So they are spreading these pathogen into the skin, right? So that is never be a good idea to do these type of removal methods, and this is a very crude method for the farmers, especially they do these type of experiment in their farms. Okay, so how you can diagnose? So this is just for your information. Yes, based on the you can identify it based on these shape. That's why I didn't put the species name. Is just a genus. At least you know that this is the which pattern is that one. There is no inornate or ornate pattern. And this is clearly you can differentiate between the hard and soft ticks. So soft ticks, you will never see the mouth part from the dorsal view. So that's the easiest method to identify at least the soft ticks and the hard ticks. Shape and the size of mouth, capitula and scutum, just for your information. However, soft ticks has a lack of scutum. So that is the second thing you have to be remembered. The mouth part of the soft ticks never be visible from the dorsal view. Larvae has 3 pair of legs. Nymph and adult has a 4 pair of legs. So these are the few points you have to be remembered. Other than that, like to look it into the shape or the size of mouth, we don't want you to be a parasaurology. We want you to be just being a clinician to understand that we are dealing the tick and this is what it look like. Soft tick, lack of scutum, mouth part of the soft tick never be visible from the dorsal side. For the treatment plan, this is a general treatment for the tick infestation in the case of dogs and cat. You can use the collar or the topical application of fipronil or emitters. They are highly effective. Pyrethrin, pyromethamine, dipping is also effective. In horses, pyromethamine is a useful drug of choice. However, in the case of ruminants, spray and dipping for fluormetharin is highly effective, and pour on of fluoroxanor is one of the other choice. Spray and dipping should be repeat for 10 to 14 days, depends on how much your farm you are dealing with is free of ticks. If you give the first spray, do it after 2 weeks time and see what is happening here now. If you reduce the ticks, fine. If not, maybe do one more spray. Injections of microcyclolactones like ivermectin, duramectin, or moxidectin, they provide some protection, but none of these drugs are currently labeled for the control of ticks. But these drugs are off-label, used as an injection form to control tick. Vaccines, they are used for the control of Rhaphocephalus or Biophilus in number of different countries, especially in African countries and some North Asian countries, but not available in USA. Okay, so today we'll be covered first the hard ticks. What is the general characteristics of the hard tick? They are mostly seasonal prevalence. They are seen in this warm season in the tropical regions. 1, 2, or 3 host ticks. The larvae and nymph feed blood only once. The female adult feed blood for a long period of time. On the other hand, male adults may attack but do not always feed for the long period of time, and they are hardly involved to carry the pathogens or involved into the transmission of pathogens. So mostly the females are involved into the transmission of pathogens. So these are the most important hard ticks genera we will be covered today, except Hyaloma will cover tomorrow. So Exidae, the general characteristics, you will see the inornate pattern, no white pigment you will be see, is all dark hair of scutum, festoons and eyes are absent, medium long club shape pulp as shown here, long mouth part. Okay, so general characteristics, why they are important. I will not ask any question in the exam, what is the general characteristics of XZD based on this one, right? So you should think about the general characteristics, like if someone asks you a question that, okay, so you have deal with this tick, and that is this type of pattern, and this is, for example, XZD, what pathogen, protozoan parasite will be transmit this disease? Think in a broader way. Don't think like you have to remember these general characteristics. Maybe these characteristics will come up in the question. Then you will know that, oh yeah, this is the inornate pattern. I know that this is there is no white pigment there, right? But you don't need to memorize it. However, you should definitely know the distribution of these ticks in United States. Only I'm saying the United States. If I will talk about any African countries tick, you don't need to remembered. This is just for your information. But at least in the US, you should know the distribution of these ticks. For example, XZD scapularis, and at species level. Scapularis, this is called black-legged tick, and you will normally seen in the eastern part of the country here, all of these areas. XZD specific, western black-legged ticks you will be see in the western side of the country. So this is important. You have to know which tick is distributed in which part of the United States. So how many of you now know that if anyone belongs to East Coast or West Coast, which one is common there? Anyone from West Coast? Okay, so it means western black-legged ticks will be common there, right? And the eastern side, this XZD scapularis is common there, right? So it means that if you are dealing in the part of the country there you are working, now you will know that this particular species is common there. You don't need to start identifying it, right? So these are the three host tick, and larvae and nymphs normally they are carried by the small rodents, mice, birds, and adults are normally carried by the host like ruminants, human, dogs, cats, horses. In the next step, this one is also important for you to remember. Being a vector, XZD as a vector, I just discussed different type of transmission pattern in the case of in the previous slide. So anyone remember those transmission patterns? Just few minutes ago. So transmission. Yes, mechanical, biological, right? So being a vector, they can transmit number of different pathogens. Lyme disease, you are familiar with this disease, Borrelia burgdorferi, anaplasmosis, Anaplasma phagocytophilium, and human babesiosis caused by Babesia microti. So both XZD scapularis and XZD pacific, they transmit this Lyme disease in dogs, cats, horses, and human, and also transmit the Anaplasma phagocytophilium in the case of sheep and cattle, that is called posture fever or tick-borne fever. In human and equine, granulomatous anaplasmosis. However, XZD scapularis, that's the only, not the pacific, scapularis can transmit Babesia microti. So now if we can go back, Ixodes scapularis is most commonly here. So it means that human babesiosis is common in that part of the country. Right? Okay, so being a pathogen, you don't need to be remember those species common in different part of the world, but at least you should know that the most important disease they cause is the tick paralysis. That is very, very commonly seen in the in most of these tick generally, and they cause paralysis if they are high in number in the skin of the host. Derma center, basic characteristics, ornate pattern. You can see these white pigments here in the scutum. Festoons and eyes are present. Short, medium pulp, rectangular in shape. Distribution, very important. In USA, Derma center variabilis, that is called American dog tick, throughout the United States except these western mountain states. So it present most of the United States except these western mountain state. In these mountain states, Derma center endesani is very common, and that is called Rocky Mountain wood tick. Also, Derma center niton, these are tropical horse tick that is normally seen in Florida and southern Texas. So these species you have to be remembered. These are really, really important for you to be remembered. Three host ticks, larvae nymph in the lizard, rodents, mice, birds, they carry these two stages, and the adult stage normally carried by the definitive host like ruminant, horse, dogs, cats, etc. Okay, here, so as I said before, being a vector or a pathogen, so I put the number of different species here because these are very common in different parts of the world, but you should be more focused here, which I said already told you that your focus should be the most important tick diseases in United States. The Derma center variabilis, they are responsible for the transmission of Anaplasma marginale, transmission of the Rocky Mountain spotted fever in the western states, that is called by rickettsia, Cytoxozonas phyllis. This is really important. So this is a very important disease in cats, and also cause, being a pathogen, it's also cause tick paralysis. In the case of Derma center niton, it is the vector of equine babesiosis. So this is important for you to be remember. The species, those are common in USA. Biophilus. What I said about Biophilus in the first half of my lecture, one host tick. Yes. So characteristics, this is inornate pattern. You will not see any pigment at all in all of these Biophilus species. No festoons, but eyes are present. Hexagonal shaped capitulum, pulp and mouth part are short. Is a one host tick. All these stages in dogs, horses, and ruminants. Okay, so Biophilus. Anyone from Texas? Great. So two of you are from Texas. So you heard about bovine babesiosis in Texas? No. Okay. So distribution of Biophilus is one of the biggest problem in the Mexico border area, that is from the Texas side, right? So cattle fever tick eradication program was established in 1906 there in this red area here. So what happened? This eradication was achieved by the inspection, treatment of the animals, by dipping, spraying, and for at least for the 9-month period of time, if they will know that this farm is infected by cattle fever tick, right? And there is a permanent quarantine zone is in the south part of the Texas. So it's a very huge problem because this Biophilus ticks is responsible for the transmission of bovine babesiosis, and we'll talk about bovine babesiosis in tomorrow's lecture. These are the two most important Biophilus species, especially in the Texas. Biophilus annulatus, one host tick. Cattle is the preference of this tick. Cattle fever tick, we call it cattle fever tick, and responsible for the transmission of bovine babesiosis. So this tick will act as a biological vector, because in the case of bovine babesiosis, the life cycle of the babesia, this sexual reproduction always happen in the tick. So that's why we call it biological transmission of bovine babesiosis is happen through Biophilus tick. Or Biophilus microplus is also important species there. One host tick, wide host range, cattle, horses, sheep, deer, and called it southern cattle tick. And this is also responsible for the bovine babesiosis. So, Rhaphocephalus, general characteristics. Is this an ornate pattern or inornate pattern? I can't see it. Anyone else? Anyone? Tell me about it. Is this an ornate pattern or inornate pattern? Sorry? Inornate pattern. There is no white pigments there. Great. Fasciums and eyes present. Hexagonal shaped capitulum. Pulp and mouth part is short. If you can see here, is very short. And blended color legs. So you can see these legs are blended colors. So the most important tick in the United States is Rhaphocephalus sanguineus. That is called brown dog tick. And this, as I said previously, Rhaphocephalus has there is some species they are 2 host ticks, some species are 3 host ticks. It means, but we will not go into the detail of these, which one is 2 host, which one is 3 host, but overall they are either 2 or 3 host tick life cycle. Larvae, nymph in the birds, lizards, mouse, and the adult in the definitive host like ruminant horses, dogs. Okay, so again, here is a lot of information of a number of different species in different part of the world. Especially here, if you can see this Theileria pava, I don't think so. You know about Theileria pava is one of the massive problem through Rhaphocephalus in African countries. But our interest here is Rhaphocephalus sanguineus, that is most commonly seen in USA, brown dog tick. This species is responsible for the transmission of Babesia canis, very common in the United States. Hepatozoonus canis, that is also very important in USA, and that cause old world hepatozoonosis. So these two diseases are really important for you to be remembered. That is caused by Rhaphocephalus sanguineus. And also it causes tick paralysis in dogs. Tick paralysis is always happens when you will see a large number of ticks in different part of the skin. Especially you will be see mostly in the ear region. So you will see these number of ticks in the ear region. That is a very common sight. Okay, So Haemophilus is another common species of tick. Inornate pattern, festoons are present, but no eyes, long pulp, mouth part, legs are blended color. Three-host tick, larvae and nymphs in the rodents, mice, birds, adults in the number of different definitive hosts. So, Haemophilus longicornis is very important in USA. Is called longhorn tick. Why it's important? Its distribution is start in the 17 states of USA now. You have seen all these number of different states where you can see the Haemophilus longicornis. It is present in several domestic and wild animal. So it is first reported in 1960s in Virginia. So it started from Virginia and now it's spread in a number of different states, and it is calculated that at least 17 states has been seen these Haemophilus longicornis tick. So why this tick is important in USA? This longicornis is responsible for the transmission of Theileria orientalis. Theileria orientalis is highly pathogenic protozoan parasite of cattle. There is only 2 countries in the world where we have seen Theileria orientalis. One is in US and second is in Australia. In Australia is one of the massive problem of Theileria orientalis, highly pathogenic parasite. And I visited Auburn veterinary school a couple of year ago, something like that. So they are very much concerned about this tick. They don't have this tick yet, but they believe that this animal movement will take this tick into in Alabama, and that is one of the responsible for the transmission of this Theileria orientalis. There are some other species of Hymenopus. These punctata, let's say, this one is very common in responsible for the transmission of number of different Babesia species, some Theileria species in Anaplasma, like Babesia bigemina, so marginalis, centralis. So this tick is very widespread all over the world. Number of different species, and these H. punctata is very common in African countries. So that's why these diseases, these are very common in the African cattle. Okay, so Ambioma. Again, general characteristics: ornate pattern, long pulp, legs are blended color. Distribution, that's important. Ambioma maculatum, that is very common in USA and responsible for the transmission of the canine hepatozoonose. And this is the disease and caused by Hepatozoonose americanum. Is very common and highly pathogenic disease in USA, caused in canine. Ambioma americanum, that can be transmit this cytozoxin phyllis, and that is also very common in USA. Okay, so Hepatozoonose americanum. Any other species we discussed? Any other tick species we discussed before transmit Hepatozoonose canis, not Hepatozoonose americanum? Anyone? We just did it couple of slides back. Hepatozoonose canis. Here we are talking about Hepatozoonose americanum transmitted by Ambioma maculatum. But what about Hepatozoonose canis old world hepatozoonosis. We just talked about that one. Rhephocephalus. Next. What species? Because this is what I said. In US, you should know the species. Sanguinus. And what about this cytoxozoonosis? Cytoxozonus phyllis. Any other we discussed before? Just 5 minutes before? Sorry? Anyone? Dermacenter? Species? Dermacenter? Varibalis. So these are the two species you should know. Ambioma americanum and Dermacenter variabalis. These two tick species are responsible for the transmission of Cytoxozonus phyllis. Ambioma maculatum and Rhephocephalus sanguinus, they are responsible for the transmission of American canine hepatozoonosis or old world hepatozoonosis. So these 2 points is very, very important. So these two species are really important for you to remember. Okay, so again, is a lot of information here with a number of different species in African countries, but here you have to look it into this Ambioma americanum. They are they're responsible for the transmission of Q fever also, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, tularemia, Cytoxozonus phyllis, we talked about that one. American Ambioma maculatum, Gulf Coast tick, they damage the ear of the cattle, paralysis, and also responsible for the transmission of Hepatozonus americanum. So at least these 2 species you should remember. And being a pathogen, this is one of the example of Ambioma variegatum. That is the common tick in African countries, but they also cause a very severe tick paralysis, reduced body weight, and also they further cause this secondary bacterial infection, being a pathogen. Okay, so anyone has any question? Yes.
Would you be able to clarify why Bufilus is sometimes listed as Rhephocephalus if there's a different?
Sure, it's a good question. So this classification has been changed. So I didn't put it in a bracket Rhephocephalus because sometimes students confuse with that one. What is the difference between Biophilus and what is the difference between Rhephocephalus sanguinus and Biophilus annulatus? So the classification has been changed. The taxonomy has been changed. That's why sometimes you have seen it is subclassified as a Rhephocephalus. So that is more for parasitologists. So in this stage, you should remember that this is Biophilus annulatus, taxus, bovine babesiosis, sanguinus, cytoxozoonosis. So yeah, but it's a very good question. Anyone has any other question? Anyone? No? Okay, thank you.